Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Inside Out Smile. I'm your host Dr. Amber Q, and in today's episode I would like to explore something that I've been thinking about, and that is, well, I wouldn't say human potential, but human potential in relation to the world that we live in. And I want to speak on this on a different note because I think, I've spoken previously about nature, and I've spoken previously about being away from nature, I think. And I say I think because I've kind of done that in a little bit, but I've had a new thought, and I wanted to explore this thought with you and to see what all of you think. Now, this morning it's been absolutely stunning. It's beautiful at the moment in London. It's very, very cold, and there is frost everywhere. Some of my friends in different parts of London have had snow, and they've been sending me pictures and showing off, and you know who you are. But we've not had snow in my part of London, but we've had very heavy frost. So with a very, very heavy frost, you can see the rooftop sparkling. There's obviously a white layer. It's like white glitter, essentially. And it's so beautiful when you're out and about in nature. And so I was thinking about this because I was thinking that, and I don't know, it's been very interesting recently. Obviously, the genocide is still happening, which is just, I don't know, beyond comprehension. And a lot of my friends on Instagram have recently, or in the last few months or year, have lost their poodles due to old age and ill health. And it really shows you that, I don't know, temporary nature of life. But of course, I may have mentioned this before, that life essentially, it's a temporary place. And it's very short. And in a way, you can almost kind of say it's like a hotel room, right? And you're either staying at various, star rating of a hotel, depending on your life and your circumstances. But of course, we're all going to be checking out of our hotel at some point. Some of us have an early checkout, some of us have a later checkout. And I was just thinking that so one of my Instagram friends had said that winter is the time for nature to sleep, which I thought was such a beautiful analogy. And as I walked about today, honestly, it was just so beautiful. And I was thinking about how in nature, obviously, everything has its own season, and it's just beautiful. And everything lives essentially, well, apart from the fact that there are pollutants and things, but let's just ignore that for the moment. When you're out in nature, you just see things, plants, living to their fullest extent. So that's kind of nature, wildlife, everything's living to its full extent. It's blossoming in the summer. Let's pretend the soil's fertile and things, and that humans haven't destroyed that as well. But essentially, in nature, everything is fertile, everything blossoms, and it has its season. And I feel that, and it's quite a well-known saying, right, that if you're are away from nature, it's very harmful. And certainly in lifestyle medicine, there's a great discussion about how nature is so good for our physical and mental and emotional health. And the thing is that I was thinking to myself that it's really interesting because when you are in concrete city, or when you're in a city, and yes, there might be trees and greenery, and I'm very blessed that I'm in a part of London where there is a lot of greenery and I love it. And also I've been really sort of venturing out and about in the countryside where it's absolutely stunning, it's just gorgeous. And just look at rolling hills, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, and it makes you feel invigorated, revitalized, energetic, and just full of optimism. And equally, I was thinking that when we're in a city, it's not just that we feel, I don't know, constricted and depressed, but I feel it's more than that. And I think that's it really. We feel constricted in terms of our potential, I think, because yes, you can be stimulated by something that's great in on some social media platform, etc. You do see things that you may not see otherwise. But the point is that I think emotionally we do feel and mentally we do feel constricted. And I feel that this constriction leads to, well, it's such an artificial environment, isn't it? That I think it leads to constriction of our true potential. And of course, along the way, we become hampered, don't we? We become hampered by the sense of time. And I was listening to this Islamic scholar, and I may have mentioned this in a previous podcast episode, about how time is man-made. And obviously, when you're in nature, you are governed by time to a certain extent in terms of kind of daylight hours, when the sun rises and when it sets. So there is that aspect to it. But I think there's a different rhythm to life in nature. Whereas when we're in the city, it's just a totally different ballgame because we're all stuck in the rat race. I don't know. I mean, I don't know to what degree one is freed as a digital nomad. And I certainly don't have a 9-to-5. But I'm just trying to think because, city life is just different. We all have commitments. We all have responsibilities. And I'm not sort of in denial of those. But I just really feel very strongly about being out in nature as much as possible, whether that is, in a park, but I feel it's just so much better if you can get out to the countryside and be amongst, real nature, raw nature, because I think in the city, everything is kind of cultivated. Even the areas of wilderness are kind of cultivated. There's a specific small area. And I feel that, I don't know. I mean, what is the point of what I'm saying? I think that the point of what I'm saying is we all need love. We need to love ourselves before we can love others. And I feel that, and that's the whole point of this podcast. It's the inside out smile, because when you connect with yourself, you're more able to connect with others. And, there's that saying that's going around that hurt people always hurt people. And I just feel that it's easier to love yourself when you're in nature, when you're living a natural lifestyle. Now, add to living in the city, in any city or any built up area, add to that eating artificial food, and you basically are going to destroy yourself. And we know that. But I think when you think about it in a holistic way, that just, you're living in an artificial environment, you're consuming things that aren't really food, no wonder everyone has issues. And to be honest, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I was looking at the loneliness stats again, and they're terrible. And what's really sad is they're more marked in the younger generation, which I think is terrible, because that's a time when theoretically there are more opportunities for networking and socializing, because there should be less sort of responsibilities compared to sort of other decades in your life. And again, caveat for those who are under oppression, who are, suffering from a genocide where children are having to do the jobs of adults. But I think, it's just that the world is in such a mess, whether you are under oppression or whether you're sort of on the other side of the world where people are unhealthy from gluttony. And just, in a sense, it's because obviously the powers to be are advertising and making convenient. I mean, who are these companies that create junk food? Do they not realize? Of course they realize that they're giving people, I don't even want to call it food, they're giving people items that are going to actually cause health problems and addiction. And, addiction to those items which are not food, they're not nutritious. So I guess, what am I trying to say with all of this? I think the thing is that as humans, we are destroying ourselves, and there is an agenda there. And how can we overcome that? The only way we can overcome that is to recognize that we do have potential, and then essentially going about to try and realize that potential through exposing yourself to nature. I think that's the first step, really. And one of my friends is so smart. So she is from a European country, so she is able to sort of go over quite often, and she has beautiful land, and with orchards of various fruits, vegetables, etc. And I think that's amazing. Obviously everyone can't do that, but we can all try and get it out, certainly into kind of your local area of nature on a daily basis, even if it's 5 minutes. And isn't it wonderful to just take your shoes and socks off and do a bit of grounding if you can, because that feels so good. And if you can, on a regular basis, get further out. I know there are people that probably do live in the countryside and they commute in. Well, just make sure that you're spending time outdoors, because it's just beautiful. Even when it's cold, just wrap up warm and just, oh my gosh, wrap up warmly and just enjoy, because it was freezing today, but I was wrapped up. And, we're so blessed to be able to do that. And I feel that we can all reclaim our potential. And, that potential, I'm not referring to a career or, an increase in revenue, although that you would get that, I think, just by recognizing your potential and spending time in nature. But that fulfillment and, your relationships, because at the end of the day, money comes and goes. You can't take it with you. And really, the only things that we do take with us are relationships, in the sense that if we have helped people, if we've given them love, attention, and just helped them and supported them, those are the only things that we take with us to the next world. The way that we have benefited others and the way that we have helped them, whether we've used our own wealth to help them, to help them have clean water, food, medical aid, or shelter. If we've helped somebody, and if we have spread knowledge to those people or given them the ability to seek knowledge, those are the only things that actually really matter. And in fact, there was an entrepreneur the other day who was speaking about somebody, I can't remember, who had passed away recently. He was a huge investor, and this other famous entrepreneur was saying of that entrepreneur, well, he's dead, he's gone, it doesn't matter what money he has, and but it's only the good that you do in this world. And I would second that, but I'm sort of adding my thought process on it, which is basically, and certainly that's what I've experienced with my patients in palliative care, was that they all regretted relationships that they'd lost, or relationships that they just let flounder, not been in touch with people, not mended bridges with people. And I think that's a terrible regret to have. And of course, some of us don't know, that's if you have a life-limiting illness. But a lot of us, we may not know when our time is up. And surely it's just good to mend those bridges, whatever age you are, just mend any bridges that you've got in your life, starting with the ones that you love the most, and then kind of moving further out. And just start being kinder to your community. Don't judge people, because none of us are perfect. And here I am saying don't judge people, so I'm judging you for judging people, but I'm not saying that you are judging people. But I think we need to connect and love ourselves, and just know that we were created to do good things in this life. And on that thought, until the next episode, let's all feel extraordinary, create connection, and not just change lives but save lives.